Good morning, AOBI. This is Mr. Dunning. Stand by. I have a math lesson for you. In today's lesson, we're going to learn how you compute the distance or length of pieces to two secants that meet outside a circle, or one secant and one tangent that meet outside a circle. This picture depicts two secants that meet outside a circle. In order to compute the lengths and the pieces of lengths, we need to pay attention to only two pieces in each secant. The little piece here outside the circle, and the whole piece. It turns out that the product of the little piece and the whole piece of one secant exactly equals the product of the little piece and the whole piece of the other secant. We'll do some examples of this. In example 1, the pieces given to us here are 2 and 15. We can't use just the 15 because it's not the whole secant. So when we look at the whole secant, and you have to, the whole secant is 17. So the product of the two pieces here, 2 times 17. In this secant, the little piece is x, and the whole piece is 10 plus x. So setting these equal, we have x times 10 plus x. That's our equation when we multiply the little piece of this secant times the whole thing and set it equal to the little piece of this secant times the whole thing. We can solve that. 2 times 17 is 34. That's going to equal 10x plus x squared. Subtracting 34 from both sides, gives us a quadratic equation, and we can solve quadratics. That's algebra. We're not going to solve that right now. This example was to show you how to go about solving it. So let's do another example. In example 2, we have two secants, and we'd like to find out how long this piece is and how long this whole secant is. Let's see if we can do this. Well, if this whole secant is 8, then clearly this piece is 5. Now we're not going to use that in the computation, but we can find it. Here, the whole secant is x, and the piece outside is 2. When we use our formula, the little piece times the whole thing equals the little piece times the whole thing. So x here is 12, and this piece is 10. That's the formula right there to solve these problems. Let's do one more. In example 3, we're given that the little piece is 5, the piece inside the circle is x. On this secant, the little piece is 4, and the piece inside the circle is 6. We need an intermediate stop here. The whole secant is going to be the sum of those two, 10. And the whole secant here is going to be 5 plus x. Now we can set up our basic equation. 4 times 10 is 5 times 5 plus x. Our basic equation. The little piece times the whole thing, 4 times 10, is the little piece times the whole thing, 5 times 5 plus x. $40 is 25 plus 5x. 4 times 10 is 40. 5 times 5 plus x is 25 plus 5x. Subtracting 25 from both sides gives us this. 15 is 5x. Dividing both sides by 5 tells us that 3 is equal to x. This piece here is 3. In review, we have two secants that meet outside a circle, and we're looking to find the lengths of the pieces. The formula that we arrived at said multiply the little piece outside times the whole thing. And set that equal to the product of the little piece outside, little piece outside, times the whole thing. That formula is how you go about solving for the pieces. Next, we're going to look at where we have a tangent and a secant meet outside the circle, and we're going to find the relation that exists between the piece of the tangent, the piece outside the circle on the secant, and the whole secant. Now, the tangent doesn't have two pieces. So the closest that we can come, and the logical thing to do, is to multiply this piece times itself. And that's exactly what we do. And we set that x times x equal to the product of the little piece times the whole secant. When we fill in numbers, this will make a little more sense. Let's do that. In this example, the piece of the tangent here is 8. The piece of the secant outside the circle is unknown, and the length of the whole secant is 16. Using the equation that we just did, 8 times 8, secant, the piece to the tangent times itself is going to be equal to the piece of the secant outside the circle times the whole secant. Dividing both sides by 16, we discover the value of x is 4. And that checks. Four times 16 is equal to 8 times 8. And along the way, we found the value of this piece too. If the whole thing is 16 and that's 4, then clearly this piece is 12. In example 2, we have a secant where we know the piece outside is x, piece inside is 7, and the length of the tangent is 12. Using our basic formula, we find 12 times 12 is x times x plus 7. That's 144, and that's x squared plus 7x. Subtracting 144 from both sides gives us a quadratic equation, x squared plus 7x minus 144 is 0. We'll solve that here in just a moment. To solve this quadratic, we're going to first look for factors before we go to the quadratic formula. We need two numbers that multiply to 144 and subtract to 7. I know the signs are different because the product is negative, minus 144. I know the first term has to be x, because when I multiply the two first terms, I have to get x squared. So this number and this number have to multiply to 144 and subtract, because there's a plus and a minus, to 7. Well, let's look here. Half of 144 is 72. 72 times 2. 72 and 2, no, that won't work. How about 36 and 4? 36 and 4, no, that won't give us a difference of 7. How about 18? You think? 18? No, 18 won't do it either, because if we put an 18 there and an 8 there, well, we're getting closer. How about 9? 9 and 16. 9 times 16, 90 and 54, 144. 16 minus 9, 7. Those will do it. Now, that tells me that either x plus 16 is 0 or x minus 9 is 0. This leads to x as minus 16. Now we can't use that solution because it just doesn't work in the drawing. We can't have a minus 16 here. This solution leads to x is 9. And we can use that. That's a legitimate solution here. Now let's check. 12 times 12, 144. 9 and 7 is 16, times 9, 144. Yes, those numbers work. In example 3, we have a secant where the pieces outside 5, inside 15. That means the whole thing is 20. And we need the whole thing. The tangent is x. Going to our equation, x times x is 5 times 20. X squared is 100. X is 10. Now you've seen 3 examples of each of the things that we learned today. Our preview for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. It's the 4th day of the week. We've had 3 days of lecture, so guess what? Tomorrow is a quiz. No surprises. It will cover exactly the material that you have seen in the 3 lectures, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Be ready. I know you can do it. We'll see you tomorrow.